Well, I'm recording.
Look at Papa.
Well, this is my last one, too.
There they are.
She's in the bathroom.
Okay, the disgruntled dad. I'm going to get.
Now the blue kids on there. City to city, blue to fall.
I can hardly keep the camera still. This is just like Jessie's baby pictures. It's like her baby movies. I'm shaking the camera so hard.
No, not Jesse didn't bring it.
Oh my god, I can't even hold
That was fun. Steven's like, I want to do that.
Kid stands there. Libby, the small yellow bus just pulled up. Time for you to go home now.
Get off there, you big slut.
Oh, now we're just silly. I don't know. Oh, he's over there on that other thing. Watch Steven try to minge himself in there. So get in, he won't be able to get out.
Our salad.
I don't know if we have enough light for this. It looks so tiny. It's cold! Every time I go on vacation with them, it's cold.
During the flight. For the consideration of other guests, please turn off your mobile phones. North, south, east and west can be found clearly marked above the glass. We hope you enjoy.
The capsule keeps turning when
I see a river. See a mark.
upside down.
You know, my mom was there, she'd be so glued in the middle of that with her eyes shut. If I said rock the capsule, she'd be like, no!
In the morning time, in the hotel, morning time at the hotel, I can finish my
Here we are on the stroller. Jesse, are you going up? Hey, Peter! Is it scary, Peter? Hang on, guys. I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to take a still picture. Wait till Peter gets up there. Peter! Okay. No! This is Jesse's and Libby's. If you get them to turn around, I'll take a digital snapshot.
Okay.
You want to go arrange them on there, and I'll take a digital snapshot of them?
All cameras.
This place could use a cleaning too.
Well, it's on the side. They started an internal, external cleaning project, May 2001, a 4-year project.
You watching I clean?
Yeah.
Look at Steven on roll camera. Roll camera!
Oh, you mean the bases are just starting to get cleaned here?
I want to look at you. I want to look at the thing on roll camera. Can I look at
You like
Steven?
this?
Hey!
You are a Googleberry.
Mama!
Yes. What is it, sweetie? Do you want your picture with him?
Yes!
Picture with him? Okay. Come on over. How about you, Gummy and Papa Joe? You picture with him? Come on, let's go.
Nice and close. I don't mind you using video, sir, as long as you go to the back if you want inside. The thing is, you get interested in what I say. Gentlemen, that's only slightly better. Don't get too foisty, I'll chop your head off. Let me welcome you to Her Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress, the Tower of London. My name's Derek, and if you'll stay with me for the next 40 minutes or so, I'll take you on a tour through the tower, pointing out some of the more important buildings and relating some of their history to make your visit just that little bit more interesting. Over 900 years of history in less than an hour, so that can't be bad, can it?
Nope.
That's the right answer. Now, it's apparent from records that we hold that this place took something like 200 years to build, and as we see it today, it covers an area of about 18 acres. It was all started by the victor of the Battle of Hastings, William, the Duke of Normandy, who, having defeated King Harold in 1066, had to spend the next 12 years constantly touring up and down the country, very often having to put down his newly conquered subjects, who didn't take too kindly to Norman domination. He decided, therefore, that he needed some place both to live in and to govern the country from. So, returning to London, he ordered the construction of a great stone fortress here, and work commenced on building that fortress with the building of the White Tower, which is situated behind the rooftops across there. We'll see it plainly once we get out onto Tower Green. Successive monarchs built all the defences around that one single White Tower until we got what we've got today, which is a system of inner and outer ballium walls and other defences. Essentially, there are 3 different lines of defence. The first line, the inner walls, have 13 separate towers scattered evenly around them. The second line, the outer walls, only have 6. They're all on this side, the riverside, to guard against attack from that direction. But during the reign of Henry VIII, it was found we were pretty defenceless on the northern sides. So he had 2 great bastions built, which he called Legs Mount and Brass Mount. They were built with flat roofs so that cannon could be placed on top of them. And if you look behind you there, stuck out on that outer curtain wall, you can see one of them. That one, in fact, is Legs Mount. Note the little stairway that goes up onto that flat roof, and those white painted embrasures where even more cannon would be permanently stationed. But if you continue to look that way, for that is where the third and final line of defence lies, the great defensive ditch, or the moat. All that grass that you can see there, which completely encircles this place, used to form part of that great defensive ditch. It was built on the orders of King Edward I, but the actual work was carried out under the direction of the Bishop of Ely. He may well have been a very good bishop, and he must have been quite intelligent to get that high in the church. But as a ditch digger, he was a complete disaster. When he first built this ditch, he built it about 120 foot wide and some 15 to 20 foot deeper than we can see it at present. he built it a lot deeper than the riverbed of the River Thames just behind me here. Now his idea was, and quite a good idea for the time I think, that twice a day the powerful tidal surge of the Thames would be able to sweep round the moat and clear out any filth or sewerage that had been deposited in there during the previous 12 hours. But because he built it too deep, once the great sluice gates were opened and the water was allowed back into the moat, it became landlocked, of course, and it couldn't get back out. And for the next 750 odd years, virtually the same water stayed within this moat, with all the filth from both the tower and all the surrounding streets of London cascading into it by the hundreds of gallons daily. It became a great big stinking, stagnant cesspool, for want of a better word, and it was the largest one in Europe. And may I add, it was rather a formidable line of defence for anybody to attempt. The bodies of dead dogs, cats, would be slung into the moat on the northern side there. Mother-in-law died, you had no money left to bury her. What did you do? What did you do? Yes, you waited till it got dark. No one was about. You first of all stuffed it in an old sack, you then slung it over the wall into the moat. Everything went into here. It has been said that if you ever had the misfortune to fall off these outer ramparts into the moat, there is no way that you would die a nice, clean, pleasant death due to drowning. You'd simply go splat, lie on top of that stinking, stagnant, seething mess, and slowly be overcome by all the noxious gases that are escaping from it until you too disappeared for the very last time. What a way to go, eh? It wasn't until 1843. By then, the famous Iron Duke, the Duke of Wellington, was constable of the Tower, that something was done about it. It had to be. Half the garrison within these walls were going down like flies due to the diseases that were coming from the moat, so he asked for permission to clean it. That was granted, so he drained it, cleaned it, and then refilled it with fresh shale and soil up to the level that we can see it today. Now, I've already said this was a royal palace and a fortress. It's had lots of other uses over the 900 and odd years that it stood here. It was a citadel for the defence of the City of London, a state prison for both political and religious prisoners. There was a royal mint, a royal observatory, a royal menagerie. Important documents of state were stored here. Gunpowder and weapons of war were manufactured and kept within these walls. And lastly, but by no means leastly, the crown jewels and royal regalia were also safely stored here. Now, of all the uses that it has had, it's only got two left today. It is still a small garrison for soldiers, and of course, this is where we still keep the crown jewels. And may I add at this point that this fortress has never ever been successfully attacked throughout its long history. But enough about the tower. Let me take your thoughts outside for just one moment. Can we all see that rather large white building on the skyline with all the statues in it?
Yep.
Yes.
Now, I know it's 10:30. Some of us have not been up too long and brains aren't properly engaged. Maybe the questions I'm asking are too hard. But can you see it?
Yes.
Then why didn't you say so in the first place? I thought I was talking to myself for a moment there. Well, look back at me then, because we finished with it anyway. It's got nothing whatsoever to do with the tower. So why do I mention it? Well, in front of that building, there's a very small garden called Trinity Green. And that has everything to do with the tower, for it marks the site of the first public scaffold in England, where no less than 75 men of noble birth were to lose their heads by way of the executioner's axe. The very first man in 1381 was a man called Simon Sudbury. The last man in 1747, by remarkable coincidence, was another Simon Fraser, the Lord Lovat, an old Scottish earl. Let me just briefly recall the procedures carried out on Tower Hill. 1 hour before any public execution, the curfew bell within the tower would sound. That was the signal for the citizens of London to gather up there in their thousands. And they were a drunken rabble in those days. Remember, this is long, long before football or television. Or even that other good old English game, bingo. It was considered good sport to go up there and watch these poor unfortunates lose their heads by way of the axe. The victim, having first of all paid the executioner for the privilege of being beheaded by him, would place his or her head upon the block. If a man, when ready, he would stretch his arms out like that. If a lady, she would drop a dainty little kerchief. Then, and only then, down would come that great axe. There'd be a great splintering of bone, a huge gush of blood, and off would come the head in one mighty swipe, we hope. The executioner would bend down, he would grab that severed head by the hair, or if it was a bald person, of course, by the ears. He would then hold it up and show it to the four corners of the scaffold. crying out at each corner, "Behold the head of a traitor! So perish all traitors, God save the king!" He would then gently lob the head to a waiting soldier, who would just as gently catch it before he would ram it onto his pike, give it a good twist to make sure he was on securely before he set off, and led the great procession through the old city streets before the head would be eventually respiked on top of the old wooden London Bridge that stood slightly upstream from this point, the only bridge across the river of those days. The head would then be left there as a warning for all other would-be traitors, until eventually, of course, at this time of the year, the birds would get at its eyes, it would start to rot, slide slowly down the pole, over the bridge, into the waters of the Thames, to be lost forever. And isn't that sad when you think about it? Anyway, we haven't got time to think. Hands up if you've heard enough of blood and gore. How remarkable. About 6. That's not a bad average, you bloodthirsty lot. Right, what would we do then with that headless body? Well, immediately after the execution, it would be brought straight back inside for burial within the Chapel Royal of St. Peter ad Vincula. We were a very Christian lot in those days. We always made sure that those headless bodies were given a good Christian burial within our own Chapel Royal. And that is normally where we finish off our guided tours, because, of course, it's Sunday today. There is a service going on at the moment. I certainly won't be able to get in with this group, but the next one after, the one that starts at 11:30, will be able to go in. Right, we're about to go through the archway along here. That is the archway to the Byward Tower. It leads into the outer waters of the tower itself. This is where all residents, which is us lot, stop, ask for, and receive the password before we can proceed any further on a night. That password is changed every night. It has never ever been duplicated throughout the long time that it's been in use. And there has been a password in use within this place every single night of the year ever since 1327. And that, by the way, was when the crown jewels were first safely stored within. Now, as you go through the arch, if you look up, you'll see some great spikes hanging down. It's the base of a Norman dropgate or portcullis. The one underneath here is well over 650-year-old. It weighs about 1.5 tons. Now, as you stand underneath these spikes, gazing up at them, I'd like to remind you of one possibly small point that you may well all be interested in. And that is that the one rope that holds this whole thing up is also well over 650 years old. So, as we go through, let's make our little pinkies go very, very quickly, and no one will then get injured. If you make a little pathway for me, please, I'll lead you all through.